right here for you today on Coffee Time.
Coffee time.
Oh, hello there, Mikey. You weren't expecting to see me in this video, were you? Coffee time is over. Everyone knows that being from Yorkshire, coffee doesn't exist in God's very own county. There is only one hot beverage of choice, and that, my friends, is the humble brew.
Coffee time is over. Expecting to see me in this video. Coffee time is over.
Tom has started something that he cannot finish. He doesn't understand the power
Of coffee time.
So, I bring coffee, and also, I bring coffee. What? Get on my level, Tom. It's coffee time. Hey guys, welcome back to Hellstormwargaming, and welcome back to
Coffee time.
Hope you're all having a great day. Welcome back to Coffee Time, where we sit down and just have a chat about things we've seen on the internet this week. We've done a couple of other ones of these where I've been talking about just people moaning and also top worst units in 8th edition. 8th edition is about to die, so I needed to change the topic. Today I'm going to be talking about how the 9 changes in 9th edition that Games Workshop announced yesterday with their big massive reveal stream might change the meta going forwards, and how the ITC circuit is also going to change with it. So the meta is kind of what's competitive in a tournament right now, and the ITC circuit is essentially the independent tournament circuit, and how it might change the rules pack or how it might change the scoring system and stuff like that. The ITC circuit isn't currently managed by GW, but that looks like it might start changing. Been a bit of a crazy weekend this weekend with the amount of stuff that's kind of been just thrown in our faces, like Yesterday I kind of did a first reaction to the animation trailer and all the new models that came out, so if you're interested in watching that, then watch yesterday's video. But today I'm going to be talking about specifically the 9 changes that they bring into the game of Warhammer 40k, and what I think about it and how I think it's going to change things in the future. So point 1, they've said that Warhammer 40k is its most polished edition ever, and it's been polished to perfection. So the fact that it's polished is only going to be a good thing for everyone. I think what this is referring to is the way the game is written right now is there's a lot of FAQs and a lot of clarifying what they're saying. So hopefully in the new rulebook we're going to be able to have a book that tells you what a rule does and there's no questions about it. Obviously there's always going to be funny questions and people reading it the wrong way, but hopefully it's clear what the intention is, so you can just play it as it's intended and how it should to be played, rather than having to release a rule and then a week later have an FAQ change it to something completely different. So hopefully they've kind of thought about how they write things and how they clarify things in an FAQ, and then put that into the original rule for this new rulebook. Second on the list is saying that it's more immersive than ever. So it kind of they kind of allude into a new game mode, or like a new way you can play multiple games and link them together. I believe they're going to call it Crusade mode or Crusader mode, where essentially the dudes you have, whether this is characters or units or everything, that they grow over a campaign, right? And you have loads of games that link together. You gain experience points and upgrade your characters as you play the games, which to me sounds amazing, right? I'm a competitive player, but I love the narrative and I love video games and I love D&D and stuff like that, and taking your character from nothing to an absolute badass in the end for the final fight for the last boss is just like, I'm all over that. I believe someone said, I don't know if this was said on the Twitch chat or it's just like someone just like pulling something from thin air, but someone said that if one of your characters dies, like for example, you can pay the points to put them in a dreadnought, which is like, that's what I want from a narrative game. To me, a narrative game is nice currently, it's okay, but it doesn't drag me in because there's not enough immersion for me. There's no reason that my character is running over there to fight someone unless I've just gone, that's just what he's gonna do today. Whereas actually, if he runs over there, he's going to gain more experience. He's going to get more battle honours, as they've called it. And then he'll be able to spend those battle honours, become even better and even more awesome, and buy himself new war gear and stuff. A lot of the narrative way and a lot of the way you link games currently, I believe, mostly is done by people themselves. So they kind of like come up with their own system. Whereas this gives like a better core way to do this sort of thing. I think that's going to be really enjoyable for everybody, because it means more people can get involved with different campaigns from different people, and also other people don't have to put as much time in to write one to make it enjoyable to play, because finding someone who's dedicated to write one might be quite difficult, whereas you have like, okay, shall we play through this campaign and, you know, follow these rules, and maybe it'll have its own war gear similar to like a scale ladder or experience ladder. So if you get so much experience, you grow a level, and if you grow a level, you gain a wound and a strength and a toughness, for example, or you gain a new weapon, or you change model completely but you are the same character, as it were. So it sounds really, really fun to me, and I'm really buzzing for it. So what I can see happening is this is kind of like you have a mission, but also you could have similar to like little mission cards, like little side quests. So like if you do this, then your characters will be able to like grow a couple of levels and get awesome. Start with more command points is the third one, and it's quite interesting. As when I watched the reveal stream, what it kind of alluded to was that rather than building detachments to gain command points, you have a number of command points and you spend command points to buy detachments. So like if you've got a battalion, let's say you start with 10 command points, this is totally hypothetical, but let's say you start with 10 command points, a battalion might cost you 2 command points, for example, so now you're left with 8. If you want triple battalion, then you actually only have 4 now, because you had to spend 2-3 times. I don't know if it works like that, it might do. I'd love to know what you guys kind of think. Another one that they could do is kind of like you pay for 1 battalion, and then every detachment that you have that's part of the same faction doesn't cost anything, but if you take another faction, it does, so it penalizes you for soup. The reason I'm thinking that is because the way the James Workshop guy said, there's less soup and more souped up super soldiers or something like that, which is a really good line. So I can see something like that happening. I don't really know. I think they do need to address soup, because it can get quite stale and a bit boring after a while. But then if you try and play pure custodies, which is one of them they brought up, it's really difficult to get command points. So you can't get your army going properly because you just don't have the CP to start with. So that's why you usually see guard with them. But soup used to be a really big issue, but I'm not sure if it's an issue right now. But maybe they've just kind of like planned ahead. Maybe they wrote the rules with the intention of you're not really going to be souping unless you're playing open play or narrative play. I don't know. They kind of alluded to that for 8th edition when they brought that out, that you're probably not going to take soup. You're going to be rewarded for playing a pure army. And then we didn't. We saw the opposite. So we're finally going to see the reward for playing a pure army, and that is more command points. Tanks can shoot into combat. So this has always been very, very immersion breaking for me. The fact that you can touch a tank and it can't shoot you anymore or shoot anything. It is so stupid. It doesn't make sense. I don't know. It's very bizarre. It's never worked. It's always been a feels bad moment where you get the bad touch and you can't shoot. So they're saying that the tanks can shoot in combat, and I think this is going to be very similar to the way it works in Age of Sigmar, where if you have a unit within 3 inches of you, you can't shoot any unit other than the one that's within 3 inches, and that's for missile weapons, which are basically just shooting weapons. So I can see something very, very similar coming out like that, which would be very interesting. It would definitely change the way combat units work, but they've kind of said that they've addressed that anyway. So the strongest point about combat armies is if you can get into combat with the gun line and stop it shooting, then you kind of win the game because you stall them out. Whereas they changed that by saying you can shoot the unit you're in combat with, especially for tanks, you know, like think about like Punisher cannons on Lehman Russers. That's like going to be like brutal in combat. So the biggest one, which is quite important for this game, is terrain rules. It's quite important for a number of reasons. One of them is that the rules don't work right now. The terrain rules don't do anything. You get a cover save, or that's it. Cool, nothing happens. I ignore cover, awesome. Again, it's kind of immersion breaking where certain units can't move around. Infantry generally ignore it completely, just walk through it, and fly just ignore it completely. I'm very curious to how they're going to change it. I honestly have no idea. They basically said that you can bunker down when you're in it, and also you can charge from out of line of sight. Are you not going to be able to shoot stuff when you can't overwatch something if it's charging out of cover? Or you definitely get a cover save. You get +2 cover save if you're more than 50% obscured. I don't know. It doesn't do anything for vehicles. I think that 50% obscured to get cover save has always been a big argument in the game of Warhammer, and I think they just need to address that way better. The other reason it's quite concerning is because I'm a tournament organizer, right? And I have a lot of terrain, and I really don't want them to completely like screw up like standard terrain layouts. I want them to still be able to work and still be good and not be a bad way to play. The traditional the great thing is you got Mike Brandt. He is the organizer of Nova Open, and Nova Open was one of the first events to make L shapes in the middle of a board. Quite famous and quite well used. So hopefully they've taken that into consideration and they've kind of thought about that when writing into the new terrain rules, because there'd be nothing worse for event organizers to have like 20 boxes of terrain that's now useless because the terrain rules have changed, which is something we've not really had to consider before. The way the terrain is worked in 7th to 8th was quite drastic. It was quite a big change, but the terrain adapted. You could still use it because the way ITC said bottom level blocks line of sight. If they change it completely, we could be looking at something completely different for the tabletop, a completely different sort of battlefield, and then event organizers might be up the creek, as it were. Number 6 was new game size. Like, Tank has been saying in the chat that he's like, they're going to make the game smaller, they're going to make the game smaller. He's been saying it for months now. I do think that they kind of, when they sell the game to a new person, they want to kind of sell a smaller game to people rather than a gigantic army like game. Like, they have smaller point sizes, like 1,000 points or 1,500 points, but there's no specific, like, the board sizes are like 4x4 or 6x4. There's like nothing in between. I think you're going to see that to go a little bit more in depth of how you can play a smaller game with like your friend or whatever on a kitchen table, because that's what they want. They want to promote smaller games where people play more. Something in AOS that doesn't really happen in 40k, and I know you can't always compare to AOS, but it's kind of like you can kind of see similarities cross. In their games, they have a different deployment type for each mission rather than just a random deployment and random mission. Each mission has its own deployment type, and the way they lay out their boards on a map or on a mission sheet is you don't have measurements from the board, you have measurements from each other. So for example, if we played Dawn of War, we'd be 24 inches apart, but it'd show that by saying 12 inches from the board edge. Whereas in Age of Sigmar, it lays that out as 24 inches away from each other. So it doesn't matter what board size you're playing on, you're always 24 inches apart. So you could play on a smaller board and be 24 inches apart and have a smaller deployment zone, or you could have a bigger board, you're 24 inches apart, you have a bigger deployment zone, but you always start that distance. And I think, I've got a hunch that they're going to do the same in 40k to make things clearer, so you don't have to incorporate the board size into the deployment map. You can play on any size board as long as you're 24 inches apart. It literally doesn't matter. Also with tournaments, I don't know, I don't think we're going to see a massive change in point size or table size at an event as much as people might want that to happen. It'd be really awkward for tournament organisers, especially when I have lots of mats. But I don't think they're going to change the size of the board. I think we're probably still going to see maybe 2.5 hour rounds. So they'll either up the power level of units so it kills more, so you generally play a faster game, or what they'll do, they'll up point stuff. So you think you're still playing a 2,000 point game, but you've actually got way less models than you would normally in the game now compared to later. So then we have strategic reserves have completely changed. I don't know what to think about this. I've got like, they've given nothing away. You can attack from all angles and from a building or you know, and it's like, it really doesn't say anything yet, which is quite interesting. Whether they're obviously changing the way deep strike works. Maybe you can deep strike from turn 1 again, but from a certain distance, or you can't shoot, or maybe you can deep strike closer, but you can't shoot and you can only charge and you have a minus to charge or something like that. I don't know. This is like a couple of these points they've kind of given a lot away, but a couple of these have just gone, nah, you know nothing. That is it. What do you guys think? Something that's always bugged me in Warhammer 40k is the fact that if you've got a battle cannon and it's 2d6 shots and you have to roll against a big horde unit and you get like 2 shots, there's nothing worse in the game. There's nothing worse. And obviously this is one of those things where it's kind of like buffing those units but also speeding up the game, right? Because if you've got lots and lots of models, then it's going to take you a long time to move them, and then if I can't roll any dice to kill them, it's another turn of moving them. So they're kind of promoting old template weapons like battle cannons, like flamers, etc., and then buffing them to a point where if they shoot the right unit, which is what they're designed to shoot or whatever, then you can kind of kill more, which means your games naturally go faster. I think this is going to be really good, but I think how they employ this is going to be quite scary. If you shoot a battle cannon at anything over a unit of 10, then you get max shots, then that's going to be horrific. Whereas if you go like 15 or even 11 or more, like more, can't call it more than 10, then I think that's going to be fine. If you shoot cultists with a battle cannon, you should kill 12. Let's be real. In the video, they did word it as maximum hits, but I don't know if that was just the way they phrased it, or I mean, you wouldn't want battle cannons from like an Imperial Knight just rapid firing and just hitting 12 times and 2s to wound against infantry. That would be horrific. But there you go. Like when you got Imperial Guard with Demolisher cannons and they're in combat with a little infantry unit, now you're just going to get 12 shots against it. And the final one they mentioned was aircraft. So these guys are going to ignore models. They already do, kinda. Ignore terrain. They already do, kinda. And they can fly off the board and come back on. So this isn't a new concept. This is how they used to work in 7th edition. The way they used to work is they couldn't come on turn 1, and then they had to roll for reserves. And if they did come on, they could fly off again and then come back on automatically the next turn. They called it ongoing reserves. So I think that's what we're basically going to be seeing now. So it is quite janky where you can kind of like, especially like when Gene Stealer Cults first came out and they were just flooding boards and everyone was using flyers. You get 1 turn of movement and then the Gene Stealer comes in and blocks off every movement for your flyer, and then they have to fly off. And if they fly off, they die. I think this is probably a good change. A bit annoying for Horde players if you're against like 5 Storm Ravens or something daft, but you're not going to see that. So I think it's going to change that quite drastically, but in a good way. Flyers flying off and dying is stupid. It happens all too often in tournaments though, but I think it's a really, really good change for the meta. Well, not for, so much for the meta, but I think what it seems like that what they're changing with some of these things is less feel bad. And by that I mean little bits of part of the game that are kind of like, rather than you getting outplayed, it's where the game just stops working for you, if that makes sense. Where like terrain doesn't do anything. Touching a tank in combat with a single grot can stop you shooting is a feel bad moment. And you flying your flyer to the middle of the board to shoot something, and then me covering the board wherever it can land, but nowhere else on the board, only where this plane can land, so you have to fly off and then it dies, is a little bit feels bad. It's just like, it just leaves a bit of a sour taste in the mouth, which is kind of what that's the vibe I'm getting. They're trying to get rid of that from the game now. What are my thoughts to the changes in the meta and the ITC season in general? I think it's safe to say that this ITC season has been written off now. I don't think ITC is going to like get revoked at all, because Mike Brandt, who's now writing basically he's like the head of events, and Reese Robbins have like always been working together this entire time, and they're both 9th edition playtesters. So I think when they're playtesting the rules, they've got ITC in mind already. So I think rather than see ITC get written out, I actually think we're going to see it pulled in and get maybe made more official. Maybe ITC might become the official event pack. Like currently it's not the official event pack, definitely the most played one, but it might be the official GW event pack, which would be really, really cool in my opinion. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments down below. That'd be really cool. And also let me know what you think to this type of video, because I've been doing this a lot recently because of the fact that I can't film because of, you know, stuff, but I am quite enjoying making them, just sitting down in front of the camera, getting to chat to you guys, and then getting to chat in the comments as well. I'm finding it really, really enjoyable, and it's a really fun way to make videos. But I am really enjoying making this type of video, and it's really fun to make short form content. So let me know in the comments what you kind of think to this style of video, and make sure you check out the other ones. I've done quite a few now. I've done lots of coffee times, I've done speed painting and stuff like that, but let me know. That'd be really cool. But otherwise guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. I'm going to be back with loads more analysis this week, which will be really fun. If you like the video, do like it. If you dislike it, please dislike it, but tell me why you disliked it. That'd be really awesome. Please subscribe if you can. I really want to hit 20k. Like that's the main goal now. It's just like, it's the big push to 20k. Thank you very much guys. Hope you have a great day, and hopefully we'll catch you in the next one. See you later.